Hey everyone, today I just want to talk about my DIY work cart that I built up. The main reason I built everything up on a cart was to have it both be mobile and I can remove both my grinder and my vise when I'm not using them, because most people don't use this stuff on a regular basis and it ends up being in the way quite a bit. So most people end up mounting like a vise or a grinder to a workbench, and if you're not using it all the time, it ends up being in the way. It takes up valuable space. You end up bumping into it and hurting yourself. So if you're using it a lot, you can definitely mount it to it. There's also like pedestals you can get to mount these things, but then they're not as easily mobile if you need to move them around. Like if you want to grind things and you don't want sparks flying all over your garage, having them on a mobile work cart is a little bit better. Now they started life off as Gladiator's 2-foot by 3-foot mobile work cart. Really great cart, super heavy duty, really nice casters. It's designed to support almost 700 pounds. So basically anything that'll fit on top of this thing, it'll safely support. So really great cart that wasn't too expensive, a little bit pricey, but definitely well worth it because it's well built. Main reason I purchased this was I wanted to be able to remove my vise and my grinder when I'm not using them and be able to use this as a flat top cart. I didn't want to just mount them to the top because then it would basically take up the entire cart and I wouldn't be able to use it for really anything else. So what I did was I went online and I found someone that makes a 2-inch receiver that is welded to this steel plate, and then they make the matching set where it's the 2-inch basically hitch that goes into it with a generic steel plate on top. So essentially, now this becomes removable and you can mount anything to it. I have my vise on one plate and I have my grinder on the other. So now when I want to use either one, I can just take it out of the receiver with this hitch pin that I just picked up from a hardware store, pull it out, and I can put it on the bottom. Then I made some wood mounts. I'll show it in a minute. So this ends up being incredibly convenient. And having it on this work cart means I can move it anywhere. When it's time to sharpen my lawnmower blades, I can just wheel it outside. I don't have to worry about sparks flying around in here. So all I really had to do was drill holes in the top of the cart and countersink the bolts. And you can see I got 4 bolts holding this hitch piece on, and then the receiver is obviously just hangs off the end. Now, if you're gonna do this yourself, you need to do this on a heavier cart. Having this much weight sit far forward on a light cart would probably not be very safe, but because this is a heavy cart, I can push on this thing and it does not, there's no tendency for it to be tippy or want to go over at all. It's very sturdy because the cart itself is heavy, and then having either item I'm not using on the bottom, like in this case the grinder, there's more than enough weight to safely support it when I have even something heavy sitting in here. But again, just this standard generic steel plate that the guy sells with these things. I will post the link in the description below where I bought these from. I just had to drill a couple extra holes, mount the vise up, and now when I'm done with the vise, all I have to do is pull out the pin like this, and then it pulls straight out. And then I got a couple of basically set screws down here, so if it's moving around a lot, I can just tighten these up and it'll lock it in solid. And then on the bottom, I put these two, basically I cut a 2x4 in half and screwed it to the bottom of this. So it basically has a nice little channel it sits in, because all the weight's on the front of the platform, they would have a tendency to tip forward. But now that they basically have this little groove to sit in, they don't do that and they stay nice and steady and don't move around when I'm not using them. And then just a little bit of extra stuff I put in here. I just screwed a hook in here to mount my extension cord, and then I got some magnetic objects that I keep on here, like all these extra outlets if I need them. I just keep some clamps on here. There's various types of clamps on here when I'm not need to mount something to the top of it. But this ends up being a super convenient cart. I don't have to have anything permanently mounted to any workbenches that are always getting in the way. I don't have them mounted on pedestals where it's a pain to drag them in and out. So when it's time to do some really nasty, dirty metal work, I roll it out into the driveway, and I don't have to worry about making a mess in here or potentially damaging something else. So I hope you guys found this informative. Like I said, I'll post the links in the description below. If you're like me and you're really not a welder and you'd rather just buy this ready to go, I'll show these two pieces and where I got them from. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.